Hello, in this video I'm going to explain exactly how anxiety is fixed through therapy. There are many misconceptions out there, especially when it comes to things like hypnosis, and people have this idea that they go into a trance and they're given suggestions and their mind is controlled by someone else, and when they wake up all of the problems are magically gone. Well, in this video I'm going to explain why that is and isn't true. My name's Paul, and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving. Now, it doesn't matter what your problem is, if it's anxiety, fear of flying, fear of driving, it can be weight loss, it can be stopping smoking. What I'm about to say works for all of those things and pretty much most problems you can have in your life. We're going to use driving anxiety as an example. So imagine we've got a client who gets scared every time they start driving on a highway at any kind of speed. Now, what's happening is that problem lives in their subconscious mind. So that's why when you're driving, it can seem so weird, because you think, well, hold on, why am I getting scared? I've done all this before and I don't understand why I'm getting scared. It's because you're thinking consciously, but the problem is coming from your subconscious. But you see, where people go wrong is they often have this idea that the way you get rid of a problem is you put someone into a trance by counting down from 10 to 1, and you talk very softly like this, and you whisper and talk about waterfalls and unicorns and the soft music playing. That stuff is for people who don't really know what they're doing. Okay, that is amateur stuff, and I will explain why in other videos, but for now, let's keep the focus on how the problem actually fixes. The reason you have this problem is it's some kind of dark, mysterious thing that lurks in the shadows in your subconscious mind. That's how people think of it. So what we do is, in therapy, we shine a light on the problem. We talk about the problem, we explore it from different angles. And because I understand how the mind works, and I've trained in things like hypnotherapy, NLP, counselling, psychotherapy, all these different things, I can use a number of different approaches to bring that problem from your subconscious mind into your conscious mind. And that is really all you need to do. You bring it into your conscious mind. And when it's in your conscious mind, it makes more sense. And then you realise it doesn't make sense. And then the problem goes. But it's not magic, okay? We're not talking here about some magic where somebody clicks the fingers, waves their arm, says some magic words, and then your problem magically goes, and your subconscious mind has been taken over by a hypnotist. All that stuff is nonsense. And even though I tell everyone this before coming for a session with me, they still expect that. That's what I have people say at the end of a session. Well, I thought you were going to put me into a trance and do all this stuff. No, because that stuff is rubbish. That's not what happens. Now, can it work? Yes, you can do things, which I'll come on to in a moment, where you can tell people things, and if their mind takes it in, it can affect their life in a positive way. One example of this for me is cats. So whenever I think of cats, I only have to think of a cat, and I'll smile and I'll laugh, and I'll think, oh yeah, little cats, little kittens running around. That for me sets off a reaction of being happy and smiling, and it doesn't matter what's going on, I just think of cats and I'll smile. So these things do work. You can, what you call, anchor something into someone's mind, so that when they think of a trigger, which is a cat, it sets off the anchor. So the trigger is a cat, and that sets off the anchored state of happiness. So for me, cats equal happiness. But it's not that simple. When you have a fear of driving, you don't just put someone into a trance and say, when you're driving, you're going to feel happy. And then the person goes out driving and thinks, oh wow, I feel happy. He's done something to my mind. That stuff's rubbish, okay? To do that can take many, many weeks, if not months, of constantly reconfirming those triggers and anchors. You can't just say once or twice or 3 times and expect it to stick. It does not work. When people have done sessions for stop smoking, they often think that they're going to be able to come out of a session and they just magically won't be able to pick up a cigarette. Of course you can. if you want to, you can always pick up a cigarette and smoke. But the difference is, once you've brought the reason for the problem from your subconscious into your conscious, you simply won't want to do it anymore because the need to do it will have gone. So let me give you an example of how I fixed this and how it's got nothing to do with post-hypnotic suggestions, as many people think. I had this problem where I kept getting a tight pain in my chest, and I didn't know what it was, and I just kept thinking, why does my chest keep feeling tight? I knew it wasn't a stroke or a heart attack, because it had been going on for quite a while, but I couldn't work out what it was. Now, some of you will already know what it is, and this is the thing, when you look in at someone else's problem, it's so easy to see what the problem is, but when you're trapped inside the loop, you just can't see what other people can see. It's a bit like when you get someone in a relationship and they're being abused by the partner, and you think, well, why don't they just leave them? And anyone who looks in says, well, it's obvious, just leave them. But the person in that situation just cannot see that as a solution. They're trapped in this loop. But let's go back to this example I was giving you about this tight chest that I had. I did some work on this with a friend of mine who's a therapist, and we found out that the reason I was getting this was because of indigestion. Now, indigestion can be caused by if you eat too quickly. So when I realised, oh, well, it's just indigestion because I'm eating too quickly, I had to make a conscious effort to eat more slowly. So every time I ate a meal, I had to consciously think, right, slow down, don't rush it. The difference is, because you might be thinking, well, why not just do that anyway? It's obvious. You won't find the reason for your anxiety that easily. You can't just sit down, close your eyes and think about why you've got it. People always say to me, every time I get emails from people, every time people leave comments, they say, I don't get it because I've sat down and I've thought about this for ages and I've thought about it for 20 years and I just can't think what it is. You won't, because you don't find it by thinking about it. That's where a therapist comes in. Therapists are trained in ways of finding these things that you will never find just by sitting down and thinking about it. The more you think about it, the further away it will get. When I found out why I was eating so quickly, I thought, wow, I can't believe that's why I've been rushing things. And I had to make a real conscious effort to slow down my eating. In many respects, I used to also talk too quickly. If you watch my old videos, I used to do all this, and people saying, I can't understand what you're saying, 'cause you talk really fast, and I used to do all this in my videos. And that's how I used to speak all of the time. I used to rush so much whenever I spoke. And if you notice in my recent videos, I've slowed right down, because I've been made aware of the reason I used to rush my talking and my eating, and I used to walk really fast. Now I'm aware of why that is. It makes me laugh. I think, I can't believe why that is. I'm not going to tell you because it's something personal, but that's why I used to rush everything. And now I know that, I no longer rush things. So you see, it wasn't some magical trigger that someone put into my mind. So the point of me telling you all this is that therapy is not like people think. It's not about going into a deep trance and having these deep suggestions hidden in your mind. Those things can work, and a good example of that is theme songs to your favourite TV show. You only have to hear the theme song starting to play and you start to smile and you think, oh yeah, you turn the volume up, you sit down, you think, oh, I'm excited, I want to see this new episode. That's an example of something being anchored in your mind. So the TV theme is anchored, and every time you hear it, it triggers you into feeling happy and wanting to go and watch the TV. That's why, if you didn't know, that's why they use jingles in adverts, so you can remember the product. It's the same thing as logos. It's all about triggering an anchored state. But that's not how the therapy I do works. Be aware it takes a conscious effort to overcome a fear of driving. It's not just that, because as you'll know if you watch my videos about exposure therapy, that alone doesn't work. That's amateurs who look in from the outside and think, hey look, these people just kept driving and they got better, and they tell people, go and drive, just drive everywhere, keep driving and push through, and you'll get better. Exposure therapy alone does nothing, because what they're doing is the conscious part. They're doing the thing you have to do after the therapy, but they haven't actually done the therapy. They've missed out the bit where you go and find the cause of this problem. So that's how you get rid of anxiety. To sum that all up very simply, you find out why you've got it, you find out the exact cause, and it isn't exactly why you've got it. I'm not going to give away all of my secrets in these videos, but why you've got it is not actually the thing you want to find, it's something else. But for the sake of this video, for the sake of this example, I'm going to say it's why you've got the problem. You bring that into your conscious mind and you think, hey, that's silly. You mean I've been getting these chest pains just because I've got indigestion and it's because I've been eating too fast. And that's because of this thing that happened years ago. And you think, no way, that's why I've been rushing everything. And you slow down. So you see, it's not about some magical quick fix solution. And I keep saying the word magical because that's what people think hypnosis is. And it's not. The kind of hypnosis I use is a style called conversational hypnosis. So I can effectively hypnotize someone, and I hate saying that because you don't hypnotize someone, they do it to themselves. And there'll be a link to a page on my website which explains all this in detail. But simply I can hypnotize people, as you were, just by talking to them. And I started doing this when I worked as a driving instructor, and I would talk to people when they were driving, because do you know what one of the easiest ways to hypnotize yourself is? To drive a car. I mean, you've probably heard of highway hypnosis. I won't go into that now, but have you ever wondered why you can get to a destination, get out, and you can't even remember the journey? Check out these videos on the screen now, and if you'd like to learn even more and work with me one-to-one, visit my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.